Ô, Queiroz, não sei se essas coisas fazem pressão em você, mas tem 150 pessoas assistindo, tá?
Não é, amigo?
Falei que tem 150 pessoas assistindo, tá? A live oficial.
Ah, mas isso é de boa. A pressão é aqui dentro.
God. Blindado. Já escolhe, já põe do lado desse cara aí, escolhe um lado já. Eu tô aqui, ó, filho da.
Vai, eu vou. Ô, filha da puta. Deus.
Bora que tá mais melhor ainda.
As well for the Saratov Racing team, making an
Oh,
effort.
no!
Spiden has gone out, and
Deus.
Spiden's into the wall.
Cego.
That has not gone well at all. Quick rejoin. Luckily, minimal damage to their car, just to the talent and to the ego, maybe, as they drop back into third. Godby in second, and Moonrise has managed to capitalize on these two's fighting by jumping themselves up into the lead of TCR.
Yes, fortunately, it doesn't look like Spiden's lost out on too much by that interesting occurrence. We do have one livery showing up, the matte black link, sorry, of. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name because I will butcher it. But here we go, Spiden already looking to get that move back on Godly, going around the outside, not able to make it happen, and that has opened up a gap for the Carbon Link to get through on the inside again. So Spiden's actually lost another position because of that, and onto the dirt again. Not going too well for him at the start. Perhaps the pressure is getting to him after that accident.
Yep, and it is going to be a bit of a worry. And at this stage of the race, it's about getting yourself settled. It's about getting yourself into those prime positions to set yourself up for the rest of the race. Now, I'm a little bit concerned in particular for some of the KTM cars, because you can see already Zoom has pulled a 2.7 seconds gap on Razkins. They're really leveraging that early quali pace, and this is what we were saying before we got trackside. They can push hard, push early.
Galera, filho. Puta que pariu a carreta.
You are not going to get caught off guard. We have a battle at the lead of TCR as Moonrise and Quiros are going to be going side by side into the final chicane. Spiden is going to be peeking his nose in there as well. Moonrise is going to be nudged slightly off track, it looks like, by Spiden. I'm not sure whether that was deliberate contact or just spacing, but that was a little bit dicey moment for Moonrise. They are going to rejoin, but only in P3, as Quiros is going to take the lead of TCR. Spiden is going to be queued up behind, and then Moonrise has got a bit of work to do to get back in there.
So we've had some comments about the camera angles. The comments have been noted. I'm still working out how this whole spectate thing works, so apologies for the minor inconveniences on that front, but we are now on board with Spiden in the good old-fashioned game camera that we're all used to, as he is looking to make a move on Quiros again.
So he's peeking around, looking for the chance. He's going to be poking his nose in, and contact between the two. They're going to re-grip up. This could be a chance for Moonrise, but he gets caught on the back bumper of Quiros, and all of a sudden these three are going to be once again closely reunited. Who's going to come out on top? It's going to be 2. It's going to be 3 heading into the chicane. Someone has got to give. Someone has got to yield. Looks like Quiros is going to be dropping a bit of speed compared to the other two, but they do have the apex. In the end, they are going to be getting around. Moonrise is going to hold the left side, but isn't going to get the exit speed. They have to slot themselves into P2. Quiros taking a bit of a hit on the exit, and Moonrise is going to be tight to the back of Spiden. As we start this next lap, Spiden has taken the lead of the TCR class.
And Quiros has now dropped back quite a bit because of those battles. So we'll have to see how they manage to catch back up, and yet Moonrise and Spiden now fighting it out. So that's going to give Quiros the opportunity to catch back up again.
We look to the top, the KTM class as well. It looks like we are seeing a similar situation that we saw with Mango. They took the wise decision because they know with Razkins being ahead, they are just going to be able to split them with either one or multiple of those TCR runners. So play it safe, reduce the risk, get into the pits now, and augment your strategy, because you are going to have to make at least one more stop, and maybe you can get it on that second half.
And here we go, Real Captain now about to try and make his way through these TCR cars. A fortunate place to catch them, really.
Boa. Vantagem na reta, velho. Aí você passa o também, né?
Mais uma voltinha, mais uma voltinha.
Ah, tô ligado. Valeu.
Able to return, so we'll see hopefully back in stint 2 their team return to form.
Yes, indeed. That's a great thing about what these Enduros is, even if you do disconnect, and even if it does feel like the race is over for you, there is still the chance, because they will likely not be the only people who disconnect, and there will still be that little bit of competition between those of you who have had the unfortunate consequence. And maybe the unfortunate consequence of getting bumped slightly wide, as we've just seen from Quiros and Spiden there. But it's something that happens, unfortunately. This game disconnects you, and you have to deal with it. We just have to hope that we keep as many people in the lobby as we can.
Não esquece combustível, mano.
Lembra quantos por cento é?
Putz, não lembro, velho. Falta 23 ou mais, 23 voltas ou mais.
Vê ali.
60, isso, boa.
Vai, pode dar uma relada, não dá. Meu Deus. Ele cega. Muito lento.
Just like the slipstream.
And look how much he's caught up to MGL on that straight. But now there's these two TCR cars, and MGL looks like they're going to get past, but I don't think Captain will. No, he doesn't. He has to slide
Big wobble,
between.
barely getting round.
But he's done it. He's gaining, and he's gaining fast. And here he is, right back up on the back of MGL, even after that massive incident on the previous lap. And he's going for the inside. Mad lad.
So he peeks around the... I think he's just looking for unconventional tactics now. And big slip from MGL is going to drop the speed massively through this first sector. Even the TCR cars.
Oh my god.
Getting a bit... Oh, and MGL! He's left the circuit.
Left the...
Eyes on Quiros and Spiden because they have got very close to one another. Quiros has lost a lot of time to Moonrise, but this is going to be a battle for P2 and a
that
big
was a
slide.
moment.
Good
Good
Quiros
dig.
there. still staying ahead though, somehow.
Yeah, Spiden's having none of this. He wants past.
Height to the back of the Dexterity car here. Looking for any chance he can get to go alongside. Not necessarily going to have the aero in his favour. There's going to be a KTM as well. That's Mango, who's going to be coming in, effectively denying any chance of getting around on this first corner. But here you go. This could be a switchback. He's in fact got a better exit. Actually, I lied. This is going to be a chance for Spiden here. They go side by side. He's going to get the push and just get ahead heading into that first sector of corners. Brilliant move there for Spiden, just capitalizing and focusing on the exit speed where he couldn't get the initial run thanks to the KTM. Is Quiros going to have much of a response? Let's see.
Doesn't look like he's got the chance at the moment. Spiden got so much of a better run out of that last corner. And it's truly amazing to see.
This time.
Here we are, 45 laps into a 69 lap race, even not taking the entire Enduro into account. And these guys are still within a couple of tenths of each other, still battling incredibly hard. And this is what we like to see.
This is really what we race for, what we're here for, and where we are going to, of course, see the drivers continue through well into the stints 2, 3 and beyond. We see Captain coming up on Spiden and Quiros here, looking for a chance to get round, and of course in that pursuit to keep the time gap away from the likes of MGL. Bit of a wobble coming down the hill, but manages to catch it once again as they are going to get themselves round to Spiden and now have a clean break once again. Those KTMs look so ridiculously unstable. I know that we said it a little bit to an extent that the Lynx, the Audis, the MGs are all following the same path, but I have to say, Captain looks like he's barely holding on to that car with every corner that goes by.
I do find myself wondering if it's at least a bit to do with the way the replays work, because every car seems to be quite unstable. Like, we're seeing Quiros and Spiden losing the back end on practically every corner, but I do think there is a degree of instability in all of the tunes as well. It looks like some of the Lynx are actually using the handbrake deliberately, which I think may have contributed to some of the particularly silly moves we've seen so far. But who knows?
I don't know. I really do think that the cars are just that unstable. You would at least see that the rears were moving in congruence with the fronts, but it seems to be like that rear axle is so fun that it's almost comical. The drivers are having to not so much drive these cars as they are having to wrestle them.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. They're really going for it though, and there is no room for error. Although the cars are doing their absolute best to try and make some errors happen, it seems.
We do have a battle coming up for maybe just a couple of the KTM drivers. Quiros and Spiden are going to continue to retain that close proximity, but looking up to the KTMs, Forzerda has taken a pit stop for the final set of the race and is now...
Deus, velho. Vai dar espaço? Não vai? O que vai ser?
As the race continues into its final 20 laps, its final third. Spiden not managing to get much of a time gain on Quiros though as we head down the back straight. Both of them are also going to be starting to run a little thin on the fuel and a little bit on the tyres. In particular, because they're front-wheel drive, those fronts are going to be burning up.
Yeah, definitely. They're having to do all the work, so they will be cooking slowly and steadily, while the rear tyres will be sitting there nice and cold and not having to do anything. And here comes Spiden, doing a little bit of the old bump drafting there. 4 seconds avoidable contact approaching. And up the inside he goes. Very nice. Quiros just going a little bit wide and Spiden able to cruise past like there's nobody there.
Those are the kinds of overtakes you want. You want minimal drama, minimal fuss. You don't want anyone to be having constant battles across multiple laps, because that is what loses you time more than any kind of mistake will. Spiden, though, going a little bit wide. Quiros is going to have a chance to go on the retake with a switchback, having a much better exit and a tighter line. They're going to go side by side. Is there going to be someone who yields? Unfortunately, Quiros isn't going to get that move he so desperately wanted, despite the tee-up, despite the setup. They're going to go narrow on the exit and try to, again, get a bit more speed on the exit of that. Try and leverage slipstream as well where they can. This might be the best chance they get to overtake into the chicane.
And they also need to be aware that Godley is catching up and Moonrise is running away with it. It does beg the question as to if these two decided to work together and just get in each other's slipstream, as to whether they would catch up to Moonrise. But I suppose we will
Zoom
never
is
know.
going to be wiping
Nossa, quase.
through. They're all heading into the pit, though. They need to, because they were below 10% fuel.
Yeah, making sure they are out of the way.
And now this is going to be their final stint towards the end of the race too, so this has got to count for it. MGL has actually managed to catch a couple of seconds onto Real Captain. It's not quite the proximity they're looking for just yet, but the clean air combined with consistent lap-on-lap running has resulted in them now being much closer to fighting for podium once again.
We're just seeing everybody coming out of the pits now, and Quiros has actually managed to pull a small gap onto Spiden in that pit lane. Not very big, but notable. So Spiden's got a little bit more work to catch up now.
Yep, and looks like we are seeing a couple more cars rejoin from the pit lane. There's going to be Goulash, Zach the One, Darkser, Phantoms, Dindu, everyone in that TCR class basically has to pit in at the exact same time, because those tyres are, in particular the tyres, are going to start showing some serious time drops. Along with the fuel, which you can only manage to an extent, that's going to be your main factor, but really tyre management is going to be another thing that isn't easy to spot at first sight, but when you feel the pace drop, you really feel it.
Yeah, that's a notable thing about the tyres in Forza Motorsport is they drop off a cliff at about 70%. You just don't have grip anymore, and that is that. And if you aren't paying attention to your tyre wear, you are in fact cooked, and that is the end of that.
Well, really, as soon as they start to show yellow, that's when you start to get a little bit of pace degradation. And while it isn't as noticeable as, like you say, when it gets to that 70% point and it just drops off a sheer cliff in terms of pace, it's still an effect that you have to be mindful of as the race goes on. But this is going to be the final stint for them all. Hopefully they have been paying close attention to their fuel burn rates and have put their strategies in place accordingly. Particularly, I want to keep an eye on Forzoda because they have been the earliest to pit out of the entire field, so hopefully they fueled themselves up accordingly. They started, I do believe, on it's either 70, no, it's not 8, it was either 80 or 90% fuel, and it currently are sitting at around 64%.
So they are doing alright for that strategy, it seems. We'll just have to see if they can make it to the end, because 15 laps is quite a lot.
There's certainly going to be some lift and coast employed. We'll have to continue to monitor to look at the per lap burn rates and do a little bit of commentator napkin math, of course, to keep you in the chat updated. But of course, let us know how you've been enjoying the race so far. We already are on stint 1 of 4, so very soon we'll have the cars to change and driver changes for the grid as necessary. We will be continuing the racing that we've seen thus far. There's going to be a full reset in terms of proximity, which means that the drivers are going to have that chance to fight tooth and nail for spots once more.
Yes, indeed, it's going to all flip upside down, and you sounded far too excited about the caster change prospect there, I must admit.
Oh, well, you get some interesting new voices. As if you get someone who maybe has a different perspective to come in and offer their own takes for the next stints. That's the bit I'm excited for.
That is understandable. There is, of course, the opportunity with the fact that Damon is going to be able to give us some more insight into how the car works and how the track is, because neither of us have very much game time, period, much less game time on this track.
Yeah, so being more of the sort of commentary and production side of things, it does take away from the game time, as you say, so it'll be great to have those more nuanced perspectives on the actual sort of car setup, physics, handling, and how Road Atlanta as a course is set up. Oh, Forzada, though, taking a big excursion off of the Quiros, going side by side there and trying to keep each other on their toes with the final stint away. Got a little bit of numbers as well. About 3% burn rate per lap you're looking at, so with Forza's current strategy, he'll be within the final 10% to cross. About 3% burn rate per lap you're looking at, so with Forza's current strategy, he'll be within the final 10% to cross the finish line, but he's still going to be in good company.
At least so we hope. But these guys, Quiros and Spiden, are properly going for it. They have not let up for the past, I'm going to say, about 20 laps. They've just been consistently together, consistently giving us some good content. And Spiden onto the gravel. Big twitch. Actually saves themselves with Quiros' car, but gets overtaken in the process.
Yeah, managing to mostly keep it reined in, though. Spiden is going to have a chance for the retake coming into the final chicane of the lap before we get into 57 here. It's certainly going to be a tough race for the both of them, because they are going to be pushing here. They're going to be pushing to the very end of the stint. And while they are going to be, in the case of the Dexterity team, swapping out their driver, Spiden is going to have to continue and will be hoping under their breath that they don't have to keep the same level of fight, because they're going to be exhausted. They're going to be absolutely exhausted by the end of stint 2 at this rate, if this lap-to-lap action is to keep up.
I suspect what Spiden will be hoping for is that whoever comes into the DX car is going to be slightly slower. But considering the tag at the beginning of that name, I have my doubts that Spiden is going to have an easy time of this at all. So I think we're going to get a lot of content over the course of this race from these two cars.
Well, for our qualifying process, you had 2 drivers. So if you had more than one driver on your team, then you had to have at least 2 drivers go for it and set a qualifying time. And then, of course, the best 2 were put forward. So the best one out of those 2 driver times. You can gain a little bit of info for that. For instance, the Dexterity team did put down COD Chaos and Dreams as their 2 drivers of choice. And it was COD Chaos's time of 25.554 that put them firmly in that second spot on the qualifying boards. We've got MGL making their way by, but looks like Dexterity has still got plenty of cards in their sleeve if the quali is anything to use as a signifier.
Although even in the races we can see that Spiden has a 25.7 as a personal best, so judging by the fact that they have been so close together for so long, we can probably gauge that their lap times are quite similar. And instead of doing detective work, I can just go and look at Quiros' car because Spiden has now got ahead again. So let's see, his personal best is a 25.6. So yes, they are very close to their quality times.
Yeah, I definitely would not count out the Dexterity car, because the driver change, of course, will bring a new dynamic, but they do still have COD Chaos waiting in the rings, and they are a proven driver. They are a proven on-track weapon, which does command it does command that on-track presence in that respect, in a way. We are seeing more lapping happening from Zoom as they have made their way around Bearfields to make it now 7 laps behind, and very soon we'll be catching a Raspy and Dindu.
Yes, let's see how he handles this. It's always entertaining to see KTM drivers overtaking the TCR class. If we ever run out of content, that's the place to go. And here we are, just seeing the battle that we just saw.
Never mind, my mistake. It is a Zoom now to overtaking the front side. That was another KTM car. Slightly mix them up a little bit with the same icons, but there you go. That's Zoom now making his way around Spiden and Quiros. as the two continue to drag race into the chicane. Quiros on the side, on the left. Going to try and go for it. They're going to have a little bit later moment on the brakes. Spiden is going to have to retreat back. Could they get the better exit in the switchback? No, they get stuck on the back bumper of Quiros. They can't get that exit speed that they wanted. And Spiden is going to retreat as we head now. Final 10 laps. Just keep in mind, folks, this is the final 10 laps of the race, because then Zoom will cross the line. And then it's going to be a case of who can get round and how quickly the rest of the drivers can complete.
A bit of a moment there. Contact between the two, and Quiros getting quite sideways.
Look at the front of the field, though, man. Captain and MGL rivals. Captain not quite able to keep that proximity as we go in, but looking at the TCR grid as well, there's a three-way fight for the lead. Moonrise, Quiros, and Spiden are all massively close to one another.
So I suppose the question is, what happened to Moonrise? Because Moonrise ran away with it, and now here they all are. So I'm guessing Moonrise had an adventure into the grasslands or something similar. But this is giving us one hell of a battle for the end of the race.
All eyes now on the TCRs as the battle for the lead is on. Quiros and Moonrise both fighting for each inch of space. There's going to be two, almost three wide as Spiden peeks the nose in on the exit but doesn't confirm into any moves. The two are going to remain side by side heading through the final quarter. Moonrise has to slot into second because they know they won't be able to keep it heading into the first corner of the next lap. And Quiros is going to go a little bit wide, which does give him a chance to go again. Get the switchback, get the exit speed, get the optimal line heading into the first sector. Has the apex a little bit cresting through the grass. Isn't going to be able to retain that speed though. And in the end, Quiros is going to take the lead at TCR. Big wobble from Moonrise. They're onto the grass. Spiden has to take some avoiding action. Big snap, big contact. There's one of them completely off almost. Spiden managing to catch Moonrise. Otherwise, that could have been much, much worse for them. And Quiros is off into the distance.
And Troot choosing a very interesting time to appear between those two as well, just throwing everything off, as per.
Gênio, velho.
KTM's doing KTM.
O jogo foi gênio
Such
agora.
content.
Well, basically said, how do you do? I choose violence today. It's good to see you.
Yes, indeed.
Pneu ficou ruim, mano. Vai de boa, velho.
Sabe, tô na paz já. Fazendo mais safe, tá ali na zebra pra não morrer de vez, mano.
Sim.
Faltam 10 minutos.
Caralho.
Spiding.
Boa, porra.
Boa,
Oxi, God.
Vamos, caralho.
porra.
Vamos.
Cresceu pra cima desses pincher aí.
Queiroz ganhou?
Ganhou. E
Caralho.
o Ryzen ficou em terceiro, o Ryzen ainda. Se fudeu,
Não
filho.
fez mais que a obrigação dele.
Mano, foi mal pelo pace.
Você é louco, aquela bugada a gente salvou, mano, na moral.
Mano, a bugada
mano.
não bugou em nenhum momento, bugou na hora
Tudo bem mesmo,
certa. Mano, eu falei, mas nem se quisesse. Nem se quisesse.
O carro deu um RLzinho.
Mano, o carro deu RL, os caras tava tudo, virou. Virou um
Virou uma
empilhamento.
doença da porra.
Caralho,
Você é louco.
os carros tudo se
Caralho,
empilhando.
mano.
Eu olhei
God.
pra trás, 2 segundos e 5, eu falei, agora é minha chance. Agora é só manter.
God.
Boa, porra.
Ou
Você
menos,
fez
né?
quanto, Queiroz? Fez
Queiroz.
quanto?
25,
Eu queria deixar a
5.
porra da live aberta, cara.
Pode,
Eu queria
pode.
deixar a live aberta.
Não, mas teve
Então,
uma hora ali na
porra.
T1, depois que os caras ficou tudo pra trás,
Tá
tava tirando 3 décimos, mas deu, né? O ritmo de corrida não ajuda.
O importante é tu ganhar, né, Galo?
Não, tá
Tenta
tudo
salvar um
certo.
replay, Queiroz. Tenta salvar um replay, vai salvar.
O duro é salvar, né?